Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I am joined by the Hounds of Asgard behind me, and I will be doing a review, another retro review, of Zatoichi, or in this case, Fight. Zatoichi Fight from 1964, or as I also like to call it, Zatoichi and a baby. But before I go any further into my review, please make sure that you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. It really does help and mean a lot. And don't forget, I also upload my videos over at minds.com, so make sure that you're following me on whatever platform of your choice. So Zatoichi Fight is indeed yet another film in the Zatoichi franchise, the 8th episode in the 26-part film series. And again, the fact that there were 26 parts to this series, all of the films being roughly 90 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that, maybe a little bit more than that, and that you had, in many cases, 3 of these films being made every single year, still to this day, after now 8 films having reviewed, honestly amazes me that they were able to put out such quality content, story-wise, technically wise, like with great filmmaking, great direction, great acting, all of those other hallmarks, that it takes years and years and years of development for a lot of modern-day films to do is kind of a phenomenal thing. Not to say that they didn't have a long-term plan, or that they also didn't have this process of building up over time, or that they didn't plan to make several of these films in advance or not, but all I can say is that the end result has been, so far, 7 movies out of the 8 that I've watched that I've thoroughly enjoyed and have, I think, all given within the A range, except for one, which was not really that great of a film, and I've already talked about that. Go ahead and check out some older retro reviews of other Zatoichi films for you to know which one that is. But once again, Shintaro Katsu comes back in order to play this title character of Zatoichi, and in this film, he has to take care of a baby. And I honestly really appreciated that element being added to this specific story because it does show a very different side of Zatoichi. We've already known from other films that there is this softer side to this blind masseur who also happens to be a member of the Yakuza and also happens to be a master swordsman. And we've seen this softer side come out, especially with his relationship with women in the various films that have been coming out. In this situation, it is a baby that we see him really start to bond with and really just give his all to protect and all to deliver this child, to deliver this baby back to the father of the child that he doesn't know at the time is actually not so good. And he obviously has a lot of high opinions based on the papers that he has been told what they said from the very beginning of the film. And it also, I think, adds another layer because in this specific situation, the reason why he comes across this child and the reason why he has to take care of the baby is because he finds this woman on the road. He's being carried to another town, and this woman on the road is fell over with her baby, and she's too tired to go on. And he says, "Hey, please take mine. Please take my cart service and go ahead and do it. I'll walk from here." I was already getting, he's already getting like a really cheap deal because he didn't want to pay anything at all for the journey, and they end up giving him a pretty cheap rate to bring him along. And so she gets in, and what happens? But there are obviously assassins following Zatoichi because Zatoichi is a marked man wherever he goes, and they decide to attack this, I think it's called a Paralin, and in this situation, they think that he is still in there, and so they put their swords in without even checking to make sure that he is still in there, and end up killing the woman. The child is left motherless, but is yet still alive. And so that is what leads us down this journey. And of course, there's another female character that gets added on who's a pickpocket, who he ends up, Zatoichi, of course, defending and standing up for. And eventually having this sort of bond with, though he never fully trusts her, and that's something that very much consistently remains throughout the story of her obviously having the origins of being a pickpocket. And even though she has fallen in love with the child, and by the end of the film even has fallen in love with Zatoichi, again, from previous films, has already made the decision that it is better for him to walk alone, and that if he was going to give himself up for anyone, right, it would have been a woman previously. That is no longer a path forward. He then says at the end of the film he wants to give himself up and his life up for this child, and wants to raise the child and wants to be there to be a father to this child. And then he eventually realizes that if he indeed takes that on, he will continuously be attacked, that the Yakuza lifestyle will never fully go away, and so that it would be better for him to not not be with him for the entirety of the film, or rather with the entirety of the rest of his journey throughout these next series of movies. And so I really did like that dynamic because it did add this other element to his character. There also are a lot of really fun sequences that happen within the film because there is this there is this entire sequence that happens at least a couple of times where you actually have, I think this is the film that I'm thinking of. Maybe I'm a film ahead in this instance, but I'm not seeing it here mentioned. Oh, no, there it is. Perfect. Okay, so this is indeed the film. So there's a couple of moments in the film where there's the blind men's pilgrimage that Zatōichi decides to hide himself in. And man, oh man, those sequences were just so fun to watch. And it reminds you that this series of movies, though it does have those serious elements, right? A mother being killed, her child being abandoned, Zatōichi having to take care of that child, obviously adds that dramatic element. But there are also these other really great moments in the film that are able to show this comedic element, this levity to it, and it really is a pretty awesome balance of drama with moments of levity and comedy that I think work really well, and it continues to work really well in this movie. So I'm once again very happy that they got back on track. They went off the rails a little bit with the previous movie, going a little bit too artsy with it, and luckily this film, I think, also very much delivers and is able to really show itself as a strong film in the overall series, and I've actually just started the next one in the series, and here we do indeed realize that he wants to be on his own, and there's a time not only for him to want to potentially be the father to this baby, but also there's a point where he could eventually, if he wanted to, join the blind men's pilgrimage, like this pilgrimage that's been seen throughout the film of people just like him, of people who are very fun and lighthearted, people that he could probably have a really good time with. He's always saying, I hope that we meet again. I hope that we meet again. And instead of following along and going with them, he decides to go on his own way, right, to continue the path, really, of the Ronin character. And this is something that we see continuously, but it is nice to see different dynamics of that role and different kind of testing of that role in different ways. In this case, the baby having a very key part to the story and being very prominent in the story throughout. So overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was very, very good. And it was interesting, to say the least. There are a couple of moments where I was, obviously kind of going into it where, there's this situation of breastfeeding and things like that. And obviously there's things that they don't have to show. And I like this film specifically because they don't show as much as what we saw in the Lone Wolf and Cub series, where they just, to me, showed just a little bit too much. Again, it was graphic for the sake of being graphic. Whereas this one, obviously, just felt a little bit more natural. It didn't feel as exploitative. And I really just liked that portrayal of this very, very important need in a child's life, which of course would be the ability to be fed as such, and I thought that they handled it very classily. So with this film, I'm going to give this film also another A-. So again, another A-level film in the series. It's definitely not my favorite of the series so far. I do think those first three, especially of the franchise, really were the strongest of them all, but it is still very much going strong in the fact that 8 movies in. Imagine modern day trilogies or modern day sagas having 8 films where only one of them was even questionably bad, and it really came down to the vision of the director in that specific case, and luckily it hasn't really affected or tainted the enjoyment of the films previous or the films after either. And so again, it's kind of amazing that I have a feeling that the vast majority of these 26 films that I'm on the path to watch are somehow, some way, gonna pretty much all be good, which is kind of an amazing feat when you think about modern day filmmaking. But what are your thoughts? I'm on Fight, Zatōichi, Fight. Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button. If you're watching on Odyssey, it really does mean a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. Now for a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon and Subscribe Star members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura, the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, and rather Teresa Martin is Miss Martin Muses now, Tina Bojan, Tina B., and Washington Madranda. Thank y'all very much for being my supporters on Patreon. And to my Subscribe Star peeps, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / The New Number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being my Subscribe Star members, and if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribe Star. You also get access at other tiers to things like a bi-monthly podcast, bi-weekly, twice a month podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, which is a lot of fun. There's also a tier in which you can join me once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where you all get to, at that level, join me for discussions, talk about any projects that you might be working on, or just hang out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun. And also, too, for many of those levels, you also get access to a giveaway section on the Discord server, where you get access to giveaways of things like 4K movies, digital codes, and tons of other stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the description and sign up over on Patreon and Subscribe Star. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.